What's up, party people? It's T Money here with episode 4 of Voices of Vikings podcast. As always, got a couple of my favorite Skull Brothers with me. You got Joey Two Hands and your boy D. How's it going, guys?
Oh, we're doing great.
What it do, baby?
Classic. Getting settled back in after a nice long weekend, being able to hang out together. It was nice and fun going to Devin's D-Nast's wedding. Um, Super fun times being able to just be around each other. And too bad we didn't do the podcast in person, but had a little bit of other things to tackle. So if we sound tired or congested or any of those things, that'd be why. So gonna stick to our standard agenda. I'm gonna cover the division first. Then we'll jump into a recap of our Week 4 loss to the Browns. Talk about the Dogs from a game that might be a little challenging to come up with a couple of dogs. So it'll be interesting to see what D's got there. We'll go over our keys to victory for a Week 5 matchup against the Lions. We'll talk about the two hands players to watch for that game. Go over some predictions and then head on out of here with a couple of family shout outs. So pretty standard stuff, but it's going to be a fun one despite the loss. So as far as the division goes, we had the Packers beat the Steelers. I don't even know what the final score was, but I don't really care. They got the W.
27-10 was a hobbled Steelers team.
Puke. Got the Bears bringing up second place there at 2-2. Vikes coming in at third at 1-3, and then the Lions bringing up the rear as always, 0-4. Biggest note I took from the division here is one, we haven't played any divisional games. We're the only team that has not, so that's good. We got a lot of ground to be able to make up there. But also that we are the only team in the division with a positive net points. Even the Packers at 3-1 are -5. Bears at 2-2 are -27. We're a +2. So as I looked into that, I actually noted that only two teams with a losing record have a positive net points, us and the Patriots. So not that that's something necessarily to hang our hat on, but good to know we're in at least championship company there, and a lot of ground to make up on the season with that in our back pocket already. We've got things moving in a good direction despite our record. So what do you guys think about the division? Any thoughts on that?
I think, you pretty much hit it right on the head. I do think we've played some of the more challenging opponents when looking at the teams that the other people have played. We played the Cardinals, who are still undefeated. Just played the Browns, who are a top caliber team as well, and only
3-1.
Lost by a few points either way. The Cardinals, who the only undefeated team left, we only lost by 1 point on something stupid. So I don't,
Right.
I think we can still manage to finish the season strong and be seeing everybody in the playoffs.
Yeah. A lot of season left. A lot of games to be played yet, so a lot of time to make up that ground.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could probably define the season so far in a handful of plays that, really won or lost the game or really turned the tides. Specifically, you got the missed field goal to win the game against the Bengals. You got that was the Cardinals. The fumble against the Bengals. This game here, you got the, not one to talk about officiating. I don't think really any of us are. But when it's pretty blatant and you have, that first call against Kendricks in the end zone after the defense had already, forced a stop, forced a field goal from the goal line. I can't do that 6-8 times in a row. And then also that last missed call
Right.
on Thielen on the final play of the game, defensive pass interference. Those are hard to overcome. Those can really change the momentum and the tide of games. So I think The record is not, it's not what this team is. This team should be, 3-1, potentially even undefeated at this point. Minus a couple of those plays that really, really change games.
Couple flukes. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And then like you guys were touching on there, the teams that our division has beat. I mean, 2 of those wins were intra-division against the Lions, so that brings the Cheese down to 2-1 and the Bears to 1-2. Who'd the Bears beat? I don't even know. Packers beat the
Bengals.
Steelers. Did the Bears beat the Bengals?
I believe so.
Let's see what this Google bot can do.
Yeah.
Someone want to look up the Lions?
Yeah.
Bears beat the Bengals, yep, 20-17, and then the Lions, they got crushed by the Browns.
Yeah. Smoked.
The Chiefs beat the Steelers and
They beat the Niners.
The 49ers. That's right. Yeah. By 2. Yep, that's right.
They haven't played anybody good.
Saints.
Steelers are rough this year. Lions are very rough, and then the Niners. I mean, they're not even that great. They're not even that great of a team, and they're still only lost by 2 points because they just happened to give too much time.
Right. Not a formal shout out, but buddy Corey from work is a 49ers fan, just always has been since he was a kid. And he mentioned Trent Williams got injured. They've lost like 3 running backs for the season. They're down to a rookie that they drafted in like the 6th round or something like that, Elijah Mitchell. So hobbled at best. So we'll see how they shake out against the Bengals this weekend. And then obviously we play the Lions, and then the Bears head out to the Raiders in Vegas there. So that should be an interesting one. So all in all, still definitely within grasp in the division, obviously. With 6 division games left, we got a lot of, like I've said a couple of times already, a lot of ground to be able to make up. So got to start that off good this week. We'll get into that when we play against the Lions this weekend. So before that, though, kind of touched on it a little bit. Some of the notes that I had jotted down from week 4. First drive, unbelievable. That's the team that we are at heart. I think their next drive was very long. It was 8 minutes and 39 seconds or something like that. They do end up getting the touchdown. I think that not only deflated the offense, but I think it broke down the defense as well. Like you said, you stop them 7, ultimately 8 times in a row on the goal line, and that was after their first drive where we also stopped them on 4th down with that huge sack. That was in the red zone. So like everything was moving in our favor until a couple of those things start to go against you. And I wonder, I feel like the crowd maybe got out of it. Those games, we've been to those games, as visitors in the stands, and like it gets boring. It's 8-7 until just before halftime. Like, oh, sweet, I'm gonna go get another 6 beers because I love beer, so it'd be all about that. But that first drive was awesome. Defense played great against a very good football team. I know we allowed a lot of rushing yards, but the Bears allowed 26 points and only had like 40 yards passing or 40 offensive yards and were sacked like 50 times. So we held our own against a team that is likely to be in the divisional round of the AFC playoffs for sure.
To only allow 1 touchdown on that play, you said. I mean,
right.
Yeah, 1 touchdown on 9 different plays on the 1-yard line. That's pretty darn good.
And with 2 backs like they had, right? With 2 backs like you had, you're just falling forward at that point. Like that's not even a play. So
with a healthy Cook, we win that game.
100p.
Oh yeah, you saw it on. D might have been busy getting his first look at his beautiful bride, but on one of those plays, the second to last drive we had, first play handoff to Cook and just scampers through there. Man, if he would have been 100%, you're totally right. Different ball game. 0 points in the last 3 quarters. Ultimately, 0 points since our first touchdown on the first drive, which is not good. But that does mark our 3rd game with touchdownless second half. So we got to figure out how to score points in the second half. We'll get to that. They had 10 QB hits. Cousins was getting jacked all day. A lot of his throws getting deflected. A couple of them really badly batted down. Their D-line manhandled our O-line. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm definitely the first one that'll step in and try to defend the O-line, but I gonna have to agree with you there. It's a tough one to even be proud. I mean, there's nothing to be proud of there when you get manhandled like that. One, I guess, shining point is that we only ran the ball 26 times, I think, with a couple of scrambles in there. So it's tough when you're not able to run the ball. The defense, they're gonna know you're gonna try to pass the ball. So it makes it a lot tougher on the offensive line when that kind of game starts to get in motion.
Yeah.
But I still gonna have to agree that even if that is a passing situation, you still have to at least touch the guy.
Mm-hmm. They do have a pretty stacked D-line, obviously, with Garrett and Clowney and then Malik Jackson. I mean, those are three studs, so that makes it tough to run the ball, but you got to make it happen
And
one
you
way or
got
the other.
the corner, sorry to interrupt too, but on the outside, Denzel Ward out there. I mean, I do remember out of the bits and pieces that I did see, there was some times that we were so occupied with Garrett and Clowney and all them that he just waited and just slid around the outside untouched. There was one that I remember in particular that there was two guys on, I think, Garrett, and he just waited for a second and then just flew right in untouched and just clobbered Cousins.
Side plug, toughness is Cousins. Never phased him. Dude was still slinging the ball, making
100%.
throws like he could. I'll be brief with that, but you guys know I love him. They crushed us on draw plays. Vigil did not play well. Multiple plays where I think Two Hands was calling it out. Why are you taking on and just succumbing to the blocker? It was definitely a first down run, but by Kareem Hunt, that one of their guards blocked Vigil and Dantzler. How do you have one guy block two? At least if you're going to accept the block, cut him. Be the end of it, one-on-one, fine. We'll take a loss of one guy for a loss of one guy. But he literally just pushed Vigil to the side and then blocked Dantzler, and they got 20 yards out of it. Like, not impressed with that,
I'd be
which
in the
makes me sad.
NFL if defensive players would take on blocks like he did that game. I would.
Oh, for sure.
If every player did that, I'd
Yep.
be making so much money.
Yep. There were a couple definitely too where you could see his numbers as he's chasing because he misread a counter or something like that. So not ideal for him, but we should have some good news on that front as we get into the cast here. And last, like Two Hands said there, not going to beat on it too much, but my goodness, the officiating was lopsided. We had 7 penalties for 42 yards, but the ones that killed us, the pass interference on Kendricks, he barely touched the guy. Not only like barely touched him, but it didn't deter him from running at all. It was nothing. It was absurd. And then the missed call on Thielen at the end. I mean, we were talking about it before, but Tony Dungy is usually a pretty quiet guy. Definitely doesn't, get after officials. But he threw out a tweet. I am anxiously awaiting the NFL officiating to explain why this is not defensive pass interference on the last play. You can see the ball off to the left of the screen, and you can see 26. Is that Greedy Williams? 26, yeah, Greedy Williams. Mugging, I think, is putting it gently. Thielen in the end zone. So that drops the ball at the 1 yard line. I mean, turn around and give that to Ham. If you need 3 yards, Ham's getting you 3. If you need 4, he's getting you 3. So I like my chances with that. I don't know, Wise Man told me that or something. So
Old Chester Taylor vibes over there.
right. It is what it is. I think we hung with, like we've been saying, like one of the greats in the NFL right now. And I think any given Sunday, that's a W. So with that, I think we put that one behind us. And unless you guys have anything else, we move on to the Dogs.
I'd like to forget that game.
I second that.
Cool. Well, let's do that then. Let's touch on the couple bright spots in this week's segment of D's Dogs. Check out for us, D.
For offense, despite only having the one touchdown, unfortunately, I will have to give this one to my boy Justin Jefferson. 6 for 7, 84 yards, and the one and only touchdown. Technically, he should have had two. I mean, at that point, if you want to, get into I won't get into the officiating again, but scored twice on that.
He got to hit the gritty twice.
Correct.
So that's
and
all
I will
that
watch
matters.
that any day. Yeah, I mean, definitely the guy that stood out there, I would say. A couple of deep shots were, really close and just fingertips away from being massive plays. On the season, he's 26 receptions, 338 total yards, and 3 touchdowns. So that's always very good to see him heating up as the season goes on. I'll take some stuff off of Thielen a little.
It's a thing to do as well. Heat up while the season goes on. I actually saw a pretty cool stat about. Sorry to completely take off the dogs, but touch on the heating up. Throughout the last couple of years under Zimmer, specifically 2015, started 2-2, ended up winning the next 5. 2017, same thing, ended up winning the next 8. So it's just kind of a thing, kind of heat up as the season goes. So I agree that he's definitely heating up, as well as the rest of the team. That hopefully this 1-3 start we can add to this list. There's 2 more years, but I'm not going to keep getting into it. I'm going to let you get back to the dogs. Just wanted to agree with the heating up part.
Yeah, definitely.
I got to pile on, though, because you left off Jefferson's best stat of the year. 1 for 1 for 11 yards, baby. QB of the future.
Yay.
Just let him chuck it to himself. Good stuff. I like that one.
So, Jet Dog. Defensively, fortunately, like I said, rough game for the defense. Obviously, overall, definitely only had 1 touchdown allowed, but not nobody that really stood out more or less. No big, easy choice of dog. So I will have to give this one to Everson Griffin. 3 tackles, 1 sack dropped him back 11 yards. That 1 sack though gave a lot of momentum and energy to the team. That was a huge sack that we needed, and so
on 4th down on their first drive.
Correct, yep.
Basically counts as a turnover, obviously.
Very glad to have him back on the season. 5 tackles total, 2 sacks. 3 of those tackles were solos. So definitely good to have him back on the line with Hunter, and in addition to Pierce and Richardson and Tomlinson. So Griffin, dog. And then, of course, for honorable mention, because that's something we do around here, I'm going to give this one to T-Money's boy, Kirk Cousins. 20 for 38. So good, but nothing super spectacular, but 203 yards. Of course, the 1 touchdown came from him. He's been despite the start we've had, he's been the captain that we definitely need. Always keeps the team going, and more or less has had good games. He did unfortunately throw his first interception of the season this game, but not the biggest deal. 1 out of 4 games. That's still darn good on the season. 108 for 157, a 68.79% rating there. 1,121 yards, 9 touchdowns, and like I said, that 1 interception. Pretty darn good. 105 QBR. He has been sacked 7 times for 51 yards, and that just goes back to that O-line that we've always talked about, where really just got to make sure we get in there. They played great against the Seahawks. We need to just continue and keep that same mentality. But Kirk, Honorable mention. Duh.
I like it. I like all three. Obviously, like you said, Kirk's my boy. It just is what it is. Being even sacked 7 times, I mean, that's across 4 games. So the offensive line is still doing good, especially with 3 of those sacks coming week 1. So they're figuring it out. But I watched Cousins' press conference, and on the pick, he said, I knew what I was doing. So even when he throws an interception, it's not like it was, yeah, it's a mistake. You're not throwing it to the other team. But he wanted to try to force the ball. He knew that he had Thielen down there, and he knew that it was the late in the third quarter, and nothing had happened all game. He's like, I forced it. So like, at least if you know that what you're doing is 50-50, might be a pick, might be a touchdown, you got to take the shots at some point in a game that's 11-7. You got to do something about it.
That
So
just goes along
I don't
too
mind it.
with just the trust that Cousins has to have for his wideouts. I think, and I might be mistaken, but I think it was that game that Osborne had that really nice catch over top. Was that game or was that the Seahawks? I'm pretty sure that was just this last game that he had that
Yep,
really good
yep. It was against the
yep
Browns. The toe tap on the
toe tap
sideline.
one. He was covered very well on that pass. But Cousins knew he had to put it where he had to put it, where nobody else could get it. Normally where Mama hides the thin mints up top there. And you just gotta trust your receivers there and hope that they can make the plays. And so unfortunately that was just one of those ones where he had to trust him and had to go for it, and it just didn't go our way. But you do have to have those, and interceptions happen. Nobody's perfect. There's plenty of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Brett Favre for one, who Hall of Fame
Mm-hmm.
quarterback, always been a very good quarterback. Pretty sure he's got the interception. Pretty sure he's the interception leader.
Yep, interception record
So
for sure.
Yeah, it was
No
definitely just a
harm.
prayer, trying to make something happen, trying to throw it
Yep.
up, let a play happen, let
Yep.
Thielen go and get it, but just didn't work out for us.
Yep. And again, not to harp on the officiating, I'm going to say 2 more things about this, and we'll move on to the next game here. But on that deep throw, you can watch Greedy Williams run directly into Thielen and then turn around and make the interception. So again, like, I know he makes the play, but he doesn't make the play if he doesn't impede Thielen's progress. So blown call in my opinion. It is what it is. Keep saying that, but it still hurts no matter what it is. So, and then a ploy for you guys watching the game this weekend, as well as anyone listening to this podcast, listen to the officiating, or not the officiating, the commentary. It is, especially this season, for whatever reason, been unreal to me. On that throw to Osborne, unbelievable catch. Like, catch of the year contender for sure. On his back, toe taps both. The officiating, or keep saying that, the commentary, he didn't even get excited until after they had called it a catch on the sideline, and then still like 5 seconds after that. Like, I don't understand why when we're at home, the commentary is not even on our side at all. Just every run that they have that breaks more than 5 yards. Oh, he's loose. Oh my gosh, here he goes. And Cook's like 30 yards downfield, no one in front of him. And they're like, oh, and there goes Dalvin Cook again. Like, I don't know why everyone hates us, but it is what it is.
they hate us because they
Anyways,
ain't us.
yeah, there it is. Anyways, so we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna look forward. We got 2 big games here before the bye week. The Lions this week are our focus. So we'll jump into these keys to victory. Might get a little bit redundant as the season goes on, but ultimately, biggest key to victory to me is sticking with your identity. You got to be who you are, and you got to do it well. And so I got us down for establishing the run game, reestablishing the run game. I think last week with Cook being a little bit hobbled and only ending up with 65 total rush yards, I think we got to reestablish our run game. I had us down for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. I got Lions allowing 4.4 yards per attempt, and the Vikes averaging 4.2. So I think it bodes well for us to push the run, ground and pound early, reestablish that play action after that ground game gets going. So 150 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. You guys got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Cook can. I mean, saw that he's going to play through his injury. He's came out and said that already. Hopefully he can rest up this week. Stay out of practice, stay off the ankle, let it, get back to what it needs to be. So we can get there. We need those rushes. We've said it week in, week out. That's the bread and butter of the Vikings. It's play action. Establish the run game early, so then you can let Cook or Cousins go to work. So I agree. 150 yards, easy against a team that's allowing like 110 each week. 2 touchdowns. I don't see any problem with that. I'd like to see Cook get in the end zone more. I think it's only been 1 this year, if that. But no, I agree.
Yeah, against the Bengals was our only Cookie touchdown.
I will agree with all that. Obviously, when you have the best running back in the entire NFL on your team, the run game is something each week is just gotta be in there. You look at the Titans have Derrick Henry, who second best running back in the league, and they use him like you use your favorite towel. I mean, they use it and abuse it, and we need we got to do that as well as we can. We need to use that run game because, like Joe had stated too, with the Vikings offense, play action is huge. Kirk Cousins loves and lives by play action. He's so good when he rolls out on that play action. And so if we can get the run game going, get him be able to go out there, that's where those big, deep plays usually go.
If you want to get into best running back in the NFL talk here, purely statistics, looking at it, Henry's got 113 carries for 510 yards compared to Cook, missing 1 game, but he's got half the carries. So he's got 51 carries, so less than half, with more than half the yards. He's got 226 yards and 51 carries. Times those both by 2, Cook's going to have more yards as well as, my math is terrible, it's wrong, but whatever. Less carries. I mean, it's just straight up. I mean, Cook's the best in the league. We just have to utilize him better, and he needs to get healthy.
That's the thing that I was going to say, a little bit counter. If as counter as this podcast is ever going to get, since I think we pretty much line ourselves up every week, so we're good at this. But about as counter as it can be, Cook at 75%, I'm taking Madison at 100% for sure. And so if Cook needs a week, take it. If you need 2 weeks, take it. If you need to wait until after the bye week, take it. Because granted, we did only run 23 times because they knew and they were keying off on that. But a 75% Cook, I mean, it's not good enough. We need 100. But what can you do?
Yeah, I guess let me reiterate how I went about that even, because you make a great point. Not even just because we have the best running back in the league. We have the best two-headed run game in the league, where we have that option as shown against the Cardinals.
Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Seahawks. Yep.
Madison is perfectly fine. Two Hands has said it before. Madison would start on, I would guarantee, 25 out of the 32 NFL teams as of right now.
Yep.
So to have somebody like that, I agree. If Cook needs to take a week off to make sure we can get him to 100, go for it. We would be fine without it, or not. We would be okay to go and let him rest up. We just still need to incorporate that run game, no matter who it is, versus Cook, Madison, Abdullah. We need to get the run game in.
Yep. I'd even say, just need him 100%, or else hop out the way, next man up. Love to have Cook down the stretch rather than in these games up here. So, but yeah. So, anyways, the first key to victory: 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think it should be a slam dunk. I watched Paul Allen, Ben Lieber after the game, and they were talking about this week, and said it's a team that we should beat. It's not going to be a gimme. These are still NFL teams, but this is a team, if we want to be contenders, this is a team we need to win, we need to beat, and I think it starts with the run game. Number 2, I got continue the defensive dominance. I think we kind of started this out talking about the defense getting a little bit stomped on last week, but to allow 1 touchdown after stopping them, I would say 3 times on 4th down, but the book would say 2 times, and then they allowed the touchdown. But haven't allowed a touchdown in the second half in the last 2 games at least. I know against the Seahawks they didn't. Only allowed 17 points to the Seahawks, 14 points this week, so they're really coming into their stride. So I have them down for 1 or less touchdowns and under 300 total team yards. Right now, the Lions, I believe, we're averaging 389 total yards on the season per game. So I think if we can scoot them down a little bit to 100, or that must have been our defense. The Lions are averaging 267 offensive yards per game. And so if we can keep them under 300 and keep them off the board as far as touchdowns go, I think we got a good shot at this. Any thoughts on that, boys?
Yeah, I think just got to keep Jared Goff off of his, or keep him out of rhythm. If you can get pressure, hit him. That's going to be kind of the same game plan as every week. Try to hit the quarterback, try to keep him off pace, not let him get comfortable in the pocket. I kind of touched on it a little earlier too, saying that they haven't rushed or ran the ball very well either. So I think if we can stop the run and force them into throwing situations, that the defense is going to have a field day. Let Daniil and Everson, go to work. And with Barr coming back here, let him, get in there, stop the couple runs, and let him blitz. Again, it's all pressure in the quarterback, and I think that's going to be a byproduct of holding them in short yardage. Don't allow a lot of yards. That's kind of what I'm getting at there.
You snuck it in there. I was holding out on mentioning the Barr comment until a little bit later for the players to watch.
We can cut all of this out, man.
We can just start over from the top.
Might as well.
What's up, party people? No. No, I was just holding it out for you to mention it. So you mentioned it early. I think that's going to be good.
I think
so getting him back is going to be a jazz for Kendricks. I think that's going to lift him up. Like Griffin, Hunter, those guys have been playing together forever. To be able to get them back clicking, and like the Lions do have a couple backs that are quick, speedy. They can get out of the backfield. Let's get Barr out there wrapping them up. It's going to be so great to see 55 out there on the field making plays. Pick 6. Let's see it. Make a statement.
I'm sure too. Getting Barr in there. It's got Rodgers shaking in his boots, holding that collarbone again.
Oh. Yeah, the only thing is Rodgers doesn't wear boots. He wears high heels, but shaking in his heels.
Oh, boots can have heels.
I was gonna say the same thing. I didn't specify how high his boots go.
Yeah, knee-high boots with 6-inch heels for sure.
Oh, show.
All right, third key to victory. I got us down for second half scoring. 2 touchdowns in the second half is what I want to see. It seems to have been a big trouble spot for us this year. Even in the game we won against the Seahawks, game we scored a bunch of points against the Cardinals, have not been scoring in the second half. We need to make these adjustments in the halftime in the locker room and come out and put some points on the board. I'd like to see us finally convert on that classic NFL trade-off. Let's score going into half and coming out of half. But ultimately, we need to put some points on the board in the third and fourth quarter. So I'd like to see us get a touchdown in each. I think that's going to be real important.
Definitely. So. I hate to ever really call out coaching staffs, but I think a lot of that second half, a lot of those second half issues, scoring, coming out flat, has to do with coaching. You got to get your guys riled up. Even potentially comes down to captains, which could be considered part of a coaching staff. And you got to get your guys riled up when it comes to that halftime speech. No, you don't even need a speech. Just keep the energy up. Get people excited. Get those guys excited to go back out and win that second half, which is like you said, we've been lacking this entire season. It comes down to making those adjustments. If going into halftime, for example, in this Browns game, you can't continue to come out the second half and do the exact same things that you were doing in the first half if they haven't been working out, and they obviously weren't.
Right.
So you got to make those adjustments, and that
Right.
comes down to play calling, coaching those guys up to make sure that they're ready for that game plan switch. So second half scoring is
Yep.
It's been a huge issue, and it's killer in NFL games, in any sport for that matter.
Yep. You touched on a good point there. Zimmer met with the captains yesterday. This was planned before the Cleveland loss. He did mention that. But just to make sure that they, as in the captains, keep the younger guys' heads in it. Being 1-3 feels terrible, but obviously, like we know, we're a couple of plays from being 3-1 or maybe even 4-0. So he met with them to make sure their heads in it, and then in his post-game press conference, he said, "I'm not discouraged one bit by this game, and I know good teams versus bad teams, and this is a good team." And he said that even Kevin Stefanski said the same thing after the game, which, whatever. It's not like he's going to come up to Zimmer and be like, "Hey, by the way, your team's a pile of shit. We just beat you, so deal with that." Like, but it's good to know that even other teams acknowledge the fact that we can play ball. And Zimmer, obviously, he's seen teams. We've gone 6-10 under Zimmer. Like, he knows what a good team is and knows what a bad team is, and sometimes the record doesn't show that.
Been around the game for a long time.
Right. Yep. So, last note that I had on my keys was just another thing I saw from Brian O'Neill's press conference. He said, "We're a good football team. There's no doubt in my mind." And he was speaking about the question was, how can the leaders of this team help pick up the rest of the players on the team? And he was saying things like, "I'm not sure how to answer that because it doesn't need to happen right now. We don't need to pick players up right now. We have high morale. We know that we're better than our record shows, and we know that things are going to turn around. We just got to keep putting in the work, tighten up the little things, and just be better next game." He was kind of, I don't want to say dumbfounded because that makes it seem like it was a hard question, but he was just like, "I don't
Taken
really know how to
aback.
answer that. Like, we're fine." Yeah. So it was good to see them with some confidence there. So that's the keys. Follow those three things, Mr. Zimmer, and we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. So.
He does listen to this podcast, so
All right.
shout out Zimmer.
Yep. Yeah, we had a new subscriber. Gonna shout it out, even though it's not the shout out section, because I have no idea who it is. But someone by the name of Frickin' Hot, probably Zim.
100% Zim.
For sure. That sounds like a screen name he would use.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
Especially back from his eye patch days.
That was actually me.
Oh, okay. Well, you shouldn't need to subscribe because you should know when this is going live. But hey, we'll take all the subscribers we can get.
Pump those numbers up.
Yeah. So whoever Frickin' Hot is, welcome to the cast. What's
You're
up?
freaking hot.
Sick. All right. Well, now that we know how to win, let's turn it over to Two Hands here and let him tell us what we've already talked about on repeat, because that's how good we are. He's going to tell us which players we're going to be keeping our two eyes and our two hands on going into this game.
We can dance, everybody look at your hands.
I was thinking the same thing, that it sounded like a broken record here. I was telling you guys there that it feels like week in, week out, the keys to victory play right into the players to watch. And then the next podcast, both those two usually fall with these dogs. I mean, got to be doing something right over here. I don't know. I'm feeling
know
pretty
our
good
team.
about it. But let's just jump right into it here. The offensive player to watch. We've been talking about it here at the Keys to Victory, rushing game. Get it going early. Dalvin Cook. He said he's going to play through the injury. hopefully, with this week of rest here, he can not practice and just, hang it up, ice it, get it ready for the next game. He played a little bit last week, not a lot. I mean, obviously 10 carries. I think he really only played like the first 2 drives. Maybe came in late in the game there to try to get a little spark, but got to have that run game. So I definitely think that I know that Dalvin Cook's going to come back and have a career game here against the Lions, who are already allowing 100 and I got it right here, 133 yards per game on the ground. So Dalvin Cook should have a game. We're open for our 150 plus 2 touchdowns.
Like it. Let's go.
Yeah. So when it comes to D, your dogs next week, I'm expecting Dalvin Cook.
I'm with you. I'm expecting him as well.
These are like predictions now.
Future dog. Cook, you better be a dog.
Boom. But kind of touch on, a little bit more last week. I know I said I wanted to not talk about it anymore, all of us, and kind of forget about it. We only saw 23 rushing plays last game compared to, I think it was 38 passing. And even 2 of those were scrambles. At least counting just the carries. So 21 carries, intentional carries for a measly 65 yards. That hurts. You can't be having. You're not going to win a game doing that. Unless it's a shootout, maybe. But to play right off that as well, 20 of those yards, 20 of those 65 came from the first drive. So if you take that first drive away from the game, there's 45 total yards running in pretty much the entire game. That is
for
rough.
Cook. Wow. Or that's up
for the team. Correct. Yeah, not just Cook. For the team. 65 total, wow. 45 after the first drive.
Wow. And I know that in the fourth quarter on that drive that we started with 3 minutes left, he had a 12, 15-yard scamper. So you take that off of that. That means between, call it 3 minutes left in the first and 3 minutes left in the fourth, we had 30 rushing yards.
Not going to win. Yeah, seriously, not going to win a game doing that. So hopefully he comes back healthier, this next week. Hopefully 100% with, this a little bit of rest here. So I don't see any issue why he couldn't go for 150, 2 touchdowns against a team that's notoriously bad and as well as allowing quite a few rushing yards per game.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see a big one, 75 or 60-yard scamper or something like that, but even almost more importantly, let's keep him clean. I don't want to see him running into these stupid piles and stuff. Let's get him running outside. If we want to run up the middle, let's use Madison for that. If we're going to run and try to get 3 yards, let's use Ham for that. Let's try to save those ankles, when everyone's piling up and just twisting his feet around. Let's try to play to his strengths and keep him healthy.
Yeah, those piles are tough. It doesn't feel good for anyone involved. Offensive, defensive linemen, the running back running into it. It just sucks. Try to make those clean pockets or clean holes for him. I want to see be able to drive a semi through some of those. That'd be pretty sweet.
Right.
Page's stats here about Dalvin Cook's year and whatnot. He is on pace to be the best running back in the league, minus 1 game. I could get into it, but go look it up yourself. Don't have all day here, so we're gonna just keep moving along. Leslie, you wanna chime in on Cook? Again, I'm expecting a dog of Cook next week.
Pow!
Beautiful. Let's keep moving. All right, we'll dive right into the defensive player to watch this week. It's got to be Anthony Barr, right? Coming back off of a pretty much season-ending injury last year to his knee injury during the offseason this year. He's missed the last 4 games, first 4 games rather, this season. I think the defense is going to have some real jive, real energy to come out and make some plays with Barr back in the lineup. Him and Kendricks, 2 best duo linebackers in the entire NFL. Great at stopping the run, even better at getting after the quarterback, the Barr, that is. So he's going to be, hopefully come back 100%, get the defense behind him, and really kind of be that shining light that we're looking for when it comes to a player, week in, week out that can make plays. I'd love to see some sacks out of him. Maybe a turnover, pick six, fumble six, whatever you want to have. As long as we can get some turnovers. Lions haven't been great this year in turnovers. I want to say it's 3 fumbles lost with 1 interception. Not that great. I mean, especially when you compare it to us, where, fumble, and I've got air quotes over here because Dalvin Cook was clearly down week 1 there. And then that last interception, the garbage time one. So 4 to technically 0 turnovers. I think that Cook or Barr is going to be primed to, force a turnover, maybe get a defensive score. So definitely the player to watch coming off. What is it? Will be 17 straight missed games. Well, I did count week. Yeah, did count
all
week
of 14
2
last year.
So 18.
14.
18
yeah.
games. So I think he's gonna hopefully come in and have a game.
He's a splash player on defense. He makes the plays that need to be made. And that's why I feel like we've been missing him so much, is we need someone to come in there, and when it's a 3rd and 3, fill that hole, make the stop. When it's a 3rd and 6, bat that ball down or get that sack. I feel like he's that guy on our defense. The rest make their own plays, but I feel like he's the guy we need in the clutch. So it'd be great to see him back. I like that one. Cool. Well, let's hop into some predictions. We'll go over some family shout outs and quick update on the schedule over the next few weeks, because we got the bye week coming up and stuff like that. Don't want our viewers to be waiting too long without knowing when our casts are coming out. So I will go first on predictions because I already wrote mine down. I got the Vikes scoring on 5 out of 6 offensive possessions. They're going to be long drives. 35-6 is what I'm going with. I think the defense is going to have a field day. I think the field goals are going to come maybe, end of the half or something, end of the game, something silly like that. But 35-6. So, D, what do you got?
I've got very similar. I've got 28-3. I think I agree. The defense is going to have a field day. Not going to allow anything, but you always have here and there a random field goal or something like that. So that's all right. But I'm going to go with 28. I'm going to go with a lot of holding the ball, a lot of possession, a lot of runs. A few of them break out, obviously, but I'm going to go with 28 there.
I like it. How about you, Two Hands?
I am going to have to agree with both of you, but I'm going to take bits and pieces. I'm going to say that the Vikings are going to put up 35 as well. 5 of 6 long, grueling drives for the Lions defense. But I think they're going to put up 10. I think they're going to get a garbage time touchdown, after an early field goal. I think we're going to hold them pretty scoreless throughout the entire game, besides the very beginning, the field goal, and the very end with a touchdown that doesn't mean anything.
Got it. I like it. I like it. Cool. Well, that is it for the regularly scheduled programming. I did think about my family shout out as well. I know I was thinking about it, and it's one of my most recent converts to the land of the Vikes, Crystal. Didn't really care for, maybe it was football or maybe she just didn't have a team prior to maybe sometime last year. Came over and watched a couple games with us last year, and then went out and got herself a reverse color rush Cook jersey. She was here for the first couple of games this year, and she'll be back this weekend. And I know she did subscribe and has been a listener on the cast, so hopefully she checks it out, and here's her shout out here. So race to see who goes next.
For mine, I'm going to go with, he unfortunately is not a Vikings fan, but he does support us listened to us and is eager to hear this one when it comes out. Give it to my boy Leroy out there.
Oh, I hate that guy. JK.
But yeah, he very supportive to this podcast. Always has good feedback and
Sick.
always down to listen to it. So Leroy, it's for you, dog.
Oh man, shout outs, huh? I would give it to one person, but they're in the house, so well, not shout them out. They're gonna hear me. We'll do that next week. This week we'll shout out Pete, my father-in-law.
Mm.
Not quite sure if he's a listener yet, and Pete, not harping on you too much. Don't know if you know how to get the podcast yet. So I'll show you how to do that next week, so you can listen in and you can hear our shout outs and our thoughts. He's a big Garage Logic fan, so we'll convert him over here to the voices. He'll hear the voices in the middle of the night. It's kind of going to be the motto there.
Nice.
But shout out Pete. I'm sure we'll get him on the podcast, show him how to find it.
Yeah. Just get him on the YouTube app on his phone. Get him subscribed, and it just pops right up. Tells you when it goes live. So shout out Pete. Hopefully you enjoy that product. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for week 4. As far as schedule going forward, be a little bit quirky. This is our first season doing this. We're doing it for fun, so deal with it. Next week, I think we will have a show. We'll have to figure out a way to sub in for D. He'll be in Cancun on his honeymoon, so hopefully he'll be enjoying that. Figure out something to do there. Then we'll have the bye week. I do not think we'll be doing a cast that week. I'll be off at a Reggae Rise Up festival, drinking double the VIP drinks since my wife's got a little baby boy up in there. So I'll be drinking those VIP drinks and watching some Dirty Heads, rocking my face off. But then we'll be back at it. That would be going into week 8. So right before Halloween, we'll have that 5th cast out there. So as always, drop questions to voicesofvikings@gmail.com or comments. Feel free to let us know how you think we're doing. And we will catch you next time. As always,
Skull Vikes.
Skol Vikes.
Skol Vikes.